Welcome to this quick guide on 4 powerful ways to fetch data in React. We'll cover the traditional Fetch API, Axios, the lightweight SWR library, and the robust React query. So learn how to handle data fetching like a pro, and including managing loading, state errors, caching. You are just starting or looking to optimize your app. This video has something for everyone. Let's dive into deep, and don't forget to subscribe to get more advanced type of video about React, Next.js and JavaScript. So let's dive into deep. First of all, we'll go to my official documentation, and after that just go to the getting started section on the Byte. Then you have a lot of this template you can use. So I'm gonna just using ban, and I'm just opening my terminal, going to desktop directory in my terminal, and you can use npm yarn or pnpm also. So I will use just a template. You can see here React.js or anything else you can use from here. You can use a lot of template from here. Just check it out, and everything is just simple. Just React and JS, and okay, we'll move to our folder called data fetching, GT data fetching, and we'll open this folder on our VS Code, and you can open your folder manually also, or you can open it in any code editor. After that, I'm just opening my terminal, and I need to just ban install. Okay, it will just install necessary packages for us, and we don't have installed Tailwind, but in our project we will use Tailwind. So Tailwind is not for our focus. Our focus is fetching data. So we can initialize Tailwind initially like that. So ban install T. Okay, we'll use ban. Let's try. Here, Sphinx ban install the Tailwind, and after that we need banx. Sorry. Okay, here also banx Tailwind unique P, and after that we need just this functionality. Let's copy and paste. Our main content is index.html, and we have we will use our Tailwind for this JS6 or TS6. I know you will understand, and we will send in our index.ts file. Okay, here copy and index.css. Just remove everything, paste it out here, and if I run I run div. Okay, close it. Oh, this is our simple Byte app. Okay, Byte with React TypeScript. Don't need this template again. So for now, we'll just remove everything from our, and we'll see how to fetch data with Fetch API and Axios also. So for that, we'll use const list data is equal to set data to set our temporary data on this use state, and we can just paste, and this under the paste function, this is it is the first parameter or argument. It just accept an input that URL where you will fetch data from. So in our case, we're using JSONPlaceholder, and if you search, if you go to on the browser and search dummy API, search, okay, you will find a lot of API, and you can think purpose you can use them like dummy JSON, give you this expanded solution to work with API, and we are now using this dummy data. This is our just API, and it can be just your server URL or anything else. Just understand the core concept, able to do anything. Like we are just fetching data with fetch method, and we are just whenever our data is available, then we are converting our data, because fetch by default it does not convert our data as JSON. That's why we are converting our data. And the fetch is return a promise, and we are just resolving promise by then, and then you can just catch also errors. So now if you would like to just post, and we can also just map our post like that, we can display our post something like that. And if we go to our byte app, okay, maybe we have a problem in here. Use state is not defined. Oh, sorry guys, need to import use state from React, and after that maybe it should work. Okay, it is working. It is working. Wow. But you can see that initially our data is not available. But how if we show a loading state whenever our data is not available? So we can handle loading state also, and for that, so without using like then catch to resolve promise, we can also use like async await to resolving promises and handle it more better ways. For that, just removing everything and const fetch data, or just use async function fetch data is equals to, like we're just passing our URL on the fetch API, and you can pass also like options here, and just we are getting the response here, and this response we are converting it is JSON, because it is not by default JSON. It just return a promise, and we're just resolving this promise as a JSON data, and this is our just exact data. You can just console.log it, CLB log data, and make sure that you have just initialize function, but you not just declare your function. So make sure that you have declare your function. But you have a question why you are using use effect for handling side effects like API calls or subscription, like when you will work with like socket.io or anything else, or just handling side effects working with DOM or window, then you must use effect, that otherwise can be just leak your memory and you will face a lot of problems and infinite loading. And so it is just returning data that has just 100 of data. But if we see, if we go to the documentation, and here we can get just this normal single post, like post/1. So this is one, that means the unique identifier of every post. But this is not our goal, and we can just test it out. And if we just give here just one, it will not return this array. It will return this is normal a object of data, this is single data, or just single ID based on this ID. So we can handle this loading state and error, because if we see here our initially our data is not available and we have some gap between the loading. So this is our this simple data, but whenever we will work with just real world, then we have a lot of data and lot of things. We need handling errors and handling a loading state. So we can easily do this by const is loading to tracking this loading state in a state, and also we'll just const error. Okay, so this is for just setting dummy data, setting loading state, and just handling errors or setting the error state, error data. So initially, whenever we will start phase, set loading, that loading will be just true, and after completed fetching and setting data, loading will be false. Okay, initially our loading is true. Initially our loading is true, so loading is true, and after completed database, then the loading is just false. And if we just we can check it here, is if response.not okay, it is the built-in property. Oh, sorry, that error is equal to, we can just pass our fail to fetch data or anything else. It's written false also here. So if we have an error like response.not okay, this is the built-in property of response object, then we're just setting errors, and our loading initially is true and we are just loading false. So here we're just setting it just empty. Okay, now it is working, and we'll use this loading state here. If loading, then we're just returning loading. If error, we can just return error like that. And initially we have this to declare the three used state, use state for just setting dummy, setting this temporary data in the state whenever data fetched from the API, then we are just setting this data for using it anywhere in our app, and we are handling loading state. So initially our loading by default the value is true, you can make it false, and you can just set it, just pass loading state whenever data phase will be start, it will be just true. And if we have the response.not okay, that means we have an error to fetching data. That's why in this case we are setting errors and loading false. And if we have data, the setting data and loading will also be false, and everything is completed. Loading state will be gone, and our data will be displayed on the on our browser. So we can add styles in here like class name, and this display flex all and gap 4. Okay, now it is okay. Oh, it is okay. And if we see, okay, initially we have loading state, and suppose we have given a wrong URL like this, so this is not the correct URL. Loading in promise. Okay, hero name is not resolved. So we have a problem here. I don't know why it is not working. So I will see response. Log it, remove it. Okay, we need to send the URL to the wrong URL. Okay, it's okay, because our URL is not correct. Okay, we can take it just to try catch block to handle any errors, then cast by try catch. So for that, We'll do this in this try and catch. So if we have any error, then we're just setting our error on the error state, loading false. And after setting data, after successfully getting data, we're just setting this data, and also loading will be false, and by default loading is true. So we'll just change our URL as a false or wrong URL, paste to failed. Paste to failed. By default, initially it is loading, but error name not resolved because this URL is not exist. That's why it is giving errors. Now everything okay. Refresh. Initially loading, and we are getting data. If we have errors, we are now able to just handle errors. This is the manual way to fetching data. You can easily fetch data on any React application, or in this client side you can fetch data something like that. But in this case, we need to suppose the same functionality we need in multiple components. Like we need the same functionality in multiple places in our app. So we can make just reusable hooks to make this. So for that, we can just copy it from here. Let's copy everything, and we'll create a in our any directory. We can create a new object called hooks/use pass data, or you can give it just any name, tsx and refs ce use pass data, and just use from here. And I need to add necessary use effect, use state in here, and at the last or at the end, we'll just return the data, just data loading an error. And we will accept a parameter called URL string. Remove the React here. We don't need this React, and we'll just pass the URL in here. Okay, now or this hooks or this function is just dynamically accept any type of URL handling this data type, or handling data, or here we need just pass like URL. So this use effect will be called whenever the URL is sent. So this is our just simple same functionality we will use in multiple places. Just call this hook in our app. Just call it in here. Pass JSONPlaceholder and const data error and loading, like that. We're not getting this space data, and make sure that you have this export default, or you can just export like const your function or hooks. Just space data not getting suggestion here. I don't know why. Okay, it is tsx. Okay, so maybe I need to import it manually, and don't need use effect. Control and shift, control and space, it is not working, so I need to input manually. Use fetch data from hooks / use fetch data, cannot find the module. Oh, this is dot hooks, use fetch data, and it is just returning data, loading an error. You can pass also just like type what data you will be just fetch from, and you can just check it out what type of data you are getting, like in our case user ID, title and body. you can just define types in here. For that, we need this type in globally types dot. Okay, we don't need this type globally. We can just define our types in here interface. Just post with ID, title, body, and what we will accept from our API, like user ID, title, and body. Also, it will be just user ID. Okay. Now we can pass type dynamically in here and make sure that for using types in here, okay, T and okay, T, we are using just generic types, and it will just return is data as a T, loading also boolean, and error is string. So we can just use data type for now. If we go to remove it, what data type is now? It is the post of data. We know what type of data we are just accepting from our API. So if we just data and post.id, so we have everything in this type step. Just leave this post dot. Wow, we're getting this type step of data, type step of our data from our API. Just pass this generic type or dynamic type, and suppose this same functionality you are facing data from multiple API. Pass just your types of your this different function, different functionality, different API. You can pass different API here. You are able to just handling loading instead and lot of things. Okay, here we have a problem. So maybe or error.message, or we can just error facing data and const error is equal to error as error, and just pass this error. Okay, now problem is solved. We're handling error, we're accepting this generic type, and this T, that means we are accepting generic types from here, and we know what type of data will return, like data, this is the generic or dynamic type, and this loading and error will return from here. And this is just a simple functionality, just tracking temporary state and facing data with the Fetch API. It is built-in API. You don't need to install it. It is JavaScript, just built-in API to handle data fetching or mutation. And also we are converting it to just response JSON. We are setting our data, loading false after successfully getting data or fetching data, or setting data on the set data state. And if we have error, and we're just setting error and set loading, it's just false. And at the last of any use event, we have just called our fetch data function. Also, you can just create it anywhere. You can just create this function in anywhere in your app, and you can just import it. You can just call it like that, and make sure that you have just handle like data loading and error state. And you don't need to make it just async function. You can handle fetch data. Suppose this is non-async function, and if you call directly in here and from another function, you can just use then and cache to just handle data, and it will just return a promise. With then and cache, you will get data like that. So this is the easiest way, and on the next video I will discuss about how to fetch data with SWR and how to solve your problem in the most easiest and expanded way. And if we just go to output, we just remove everything. Loading. Oh, great. Just to change URL, we have a problem, fail to fetch. face to face. By default, initially it is loading. Error. Wow. But it is just rewrite everything, and we will never show our main page. But if we just like, you need to just see loading state after the post and not rewrite your whole return or whole this section. So you can just conditionally render it here, like post is equal to, we can get just, okay, we can show the data.length, and if we have this loading, and then loading without setting it, because it will just rewrite everything, and you will never able to see the post if we not available the post. So just you can render it this conditionally. If loading, then display loading or anything else, you can just render it. And if we have used error loading, suppose if we don't have loading and data.length is 0, you can just do it. You can do just anything else in here. This is just simple logic. It is not mandatory. The mandatory is just understand. This is our simple function facing data, accept dynamic URL and accept dynamic types from anywhere to make it reusable. And this is just a simple state to track this temporary data after facing, or just handling errors and loading state whenever we are facing. So another way we can use like Axios. We can do it with Axios, but we'll discuss about Axios in next video. So video will discuss make this functionality easier with Axios and how to fetch data with Axios. Okay, on the previous video we have seen how to fetch data with just built-in fetch API in JavaScript. But in this video, we will see how to make this functionality just more easier and simplify it with Axios. And we will fetch data and we will just render it on our just browser like that. And if we go to next Axios npm or Axios Documentation. So here, this is the library for data fetching and mutation, and just look at the downloads. It will just make your work with just APIs easier. So for that, we need to just install Axios. We'll use one. You can use npm. This is the command to install, and we're gonna just installing Axios in our app. For that, command add Axios. You can use npm install Axios like that. Okay, so in this scenario, we'll just import. Okay, import this Axios from Axios, not it is. Okay, we can use it for we can replace the page with Axios.get, and by default, like page, you don't need to convert it. We'll get directly data in here, and or JSON in here, JSON type or any type of data. We'll get data like JSON.data like that. So this is our actual data from our server, from our API response. So suppose in this case, for just normal page fetching data, we don't need to, we are not getting any benefits to use Axios alternative to fetch API. But suppose you need like data mutation or passing data, or using any type or another method like post, get, or like to make a CRUD application or to post data to server, or using REST APIs. So in this case, fetch API will be horrible. Like So before that, we'll see our app is working or not. Wow. Loading. Okay, it is, everything is working. So just normal fetching, we don't need Axios, we don't have any benefit, but it's just simplified, just one line in our code for our get, and you can pass, you can make like Axios instance. You can create just default configuration for Axios with Axios.create, and you can create Axios instance, and you can add headers in here, and you can use it with the same functionality. You can use in multiple places. Like if we search on the like creating new, expanding Axios dot create a instance of Axios. Okay, like you can pass our URL like that. We don't need to pass URL every time. We can create a global reusable function, and we can pass like our necessary headers. We can handle errors with here, and we can do like a lot of things. And we cannot do this, like we can handle timeout. We cannot do this with Fetch API. So this is a plus point for us. So in this case, or if we, so everything is working. Suppose you need to fetch or pass data to server, like suppose in our app we have the const data is equals to, okay, not data, const name is equals to just static name, it's test, and const submit create post create name will be a just simple function, and like paste method post. In this case, we need that to paste or pass. So by default, Fetch API use just get method, but if you need to use like post method or any another method and pass data or like anything else, you need to pass like manually pass body like that, convert it to JSON. Also, whenever we was just fetching data, we need to convert it just to JSON. So this is the problem, but Next.js Fetch API extends a lot of functionality to work with API and SSR, SSC, or anything else. Next.js extends that default Fetch API and make it more powerful. But React, it is a normal Fetch API that we can use in any JavaScript application, and we need just the same lot of boilerplate code for Fetch API, but we can do the same functionality easily with Axios, like Axios dot. Okay, we need to import it. Axios dot post. We need to pass our just URL like that, and we can pass our data here, and the third options we can pass our option like headers, content type. We can pass like authorization, or we can pass like manual configuration here, like authorization, and we can pass just our BR token from that we have set in our cookies or localhost. So this is the plus point of using Axios. Okay. So this is just similar functionality, and in the next video we will see how to use SWR to fetch data and make it more easier and more just powerful to fetch data and working with that. So you can try with Axios, like you can create like API client like that. And if we try it, so I'll show you, like create as different group, use Axios.tsx API HTTP. So our base URL, you can set your base URL in JSONPlaceholder.tpk.com. Timeout, just millisecond, and we can use it. So we need to import it in the last export default API client. We don't need to use this. Okay, so there the use case, like API client dot get. So there you have the set your default configuration. You can set you can pass like authorization token in this one place. You don't need to pass authorization in or like headers in multiple places or anything else. You can just set it out in one place, and you can use like API client dot get, API client dot give dot here, and you will see what type of methods you can use, like post, put, pass, head, or anything else. And here like delete method you can use. So this is the benefit Axios over Fetch API. You can just test it out. Okay, so we will use this function like API client in our Fetch function, like API client. We need to import it. Okay, we are not getting any suggestion. Need to import it manually. Const hooks. Okay, we are getting. So this is our API client. Dot we have the type safety. We have type safety. What we will get, and this is the get method. By default it is URL, and we know what type of method we are using. But by default to Fetch API use just get method. So this is it, and this is the normal function. This is for handling temporary data, and this is it. This is simple functionality, and we are using this use Fetch data here, getting data, error, loading, and just if we have loading, we are displaying loading. If we don't have like loading state, data.length is 0, no post found, or otherwise we're just displaying our data. So it is, everything is working. Okay, now in the next video we'll discuss about a SWR. On the previous video we have seen how to data fetch with Fetch API and Axios, and in this video we will discuss about how we can use like SWR with fetching data. So if we go to the swr.vercel.app, there is their official documentation, and SWR, it is this React hooks for data fetching, and this is the feature of SWR, like lightweight, real-time, and suspend pagination backend documentation, how you can use it. Very minimal configuration. You can fetch data, you can mutate data, like you can pass data from client to server. And here is their this documentation how you can use SWR. So for that, if we go to the SWR, search on SWR npm, and you will go to the their npm package, and just look at how many developers in the world they are using SWR to make their work easier. So we'll also see how to make our work easier. So first of all, you need to add SWR in your package or in your dependencies. So add SWR, you can use like npm or pnpm or yarn to just install it. So for npm, you can use npm install SWR, and after that, just you need to just create a function called fetcher, or anything else. You can just give it any name. API client. Okay. Now everything is just working. We are using this API client. This is the default configuration of Axios, or you can use this Fetch API to do this. And we are using this our page URL is JSONPlaceholder.tpk.com, and this is our default configuration for it. And just one line of code It's reusable function. You can use it just anywhere. You can use Axios manually here, or you can use just Fetch API here. So on our this main file, or anything anywhere in your app, you can write it any component. We have just imported use SWR from SWR, and this is our type of data, what it will return. So if we hover it, then we'll know what type of data it is returning. That's why we have just our shape of data, and we have pass. The data will return just array of this posts, and we have just passed like flash post, and we have this pass this tracer function. So this is a single, just this one line of code, and this single line code you can fetch data, handle data, error is loading, just comma and control space, and like it's validating, or you can use like mutation for that. And here we are returning conditionally if we have loading state and data is not exist or not available, then just return loading, or if we have error, then returning errors, and otherwise we don't need that. Okay, you can render like that. And otherwise we're just mapping data, and we know what type of data we have. So data dot like id, data dot post, dot title, body. So everything is fine. Now run dev. It will restart our Python server. Wow, it is working. It is working. So if you use like I'm using API client, so I have set the base URL. I'm using JSONPlaceholder for testing purpose, and you can just change your URL. And if you use like Fetch API, then make sure that you have passed the complete URL in here. Otherwise, it will not work. Like HTTP localhost 5000 / your like your server port / your endpoints or routes, or your just exact API from your Fetch data. So this is that simple functionality, like with SWR, handling data, error is loading. And if we look at our previous functionality, this is the previous functionality, like we need to set data in a state, loading, error, handle the data manually, and need error manually, a lot of things. So we can do it without any hassle. We can just use SWR. This tracer function is every time it's just similar. Tracer function also similar. Just accept URL. You can use fetch client. Make sure that you have used the correct URL in here, the path, and this is that rendering on our component. Loading. Okay, but why? So we can make this simple fetch or like use fetch data like custom hook. But why we should use SWR? So it is, first of all, it is lightweight, real-time suspense, and it has the suspense pagination, SSR, SSGRD, TypeScript. And if we go to the documentation, here you have a lot of configuration how you can use it and why you should use SWR. Minimal configuration, you can fetch and mutate data. So here just we have lot of configuration installed while revalidating like that. So here let's look at this. Let's read the documentation and you will understand why you should use SWR behind the without using just your Fetch API or Axios or your custom hooks for fetching data or mutation. So we test it out, like prefacing, subscription, like you can use subscription like remote or subscribe. Let's check it out. You can do a lot of things. Next is SSC or SSR, it is supporting like that. Oh, So this is it. This is the video, and I think you will learn something from this video, and you need to test in yourself and for better understanding. And this is simple, and I think it will help you to save your time in real world scenario. So thank you so much. In the last 3 videos, we have discussed about how to fetching data in React with JavaScript built-in Fetch API, Axios, and SWR. For now, so in this video, we will discuss about like how we can use React query or 10-stack React query to fetch and mutation data. So this is the AWebCode functionality. We're going to just add a 10-stack query in our app, and if we go to just npm.com package just 10-stack query, then you will find that weekly downloads and a lot of feature documentation. And if we go this 10stack.com, and here we have a lot of just functionality and how you can install and how it ban add 10-stack React query. Okay, it is added. After that quick start, I need to just add query provider like that, query client, new query. Okay, I need to wrap my main app with the React query. So in my case, my main app is just this app. Okay, this is app. Put React query on query client, new query client from also tends-to create query. Okay, now we have this setup our React query. We can just remove strict mode from here, but we don't need to for this case. And now we will learn how to use it, like add. Okay, so first of all, so here you can use like a query and mutation, handle loading, pending state, error data, or anything else. More expanded and powerful way than your custom hook, Fetch, Axios, or this SW query. From 10-step query is equals to just accept query key and fetcher. This fetcher, this is from this function. This is the simple function. I am using Axios client or API client, that is Axios, and this is the base URL slash post. Then our API will be hit, and we are getting this error loading in is loading error data with query and error dot message. Okay, now we can remove it. Everything is just working fine. Go to hide, loading. Wow, loading. Oh, it's working. So how make your work easier? And if you just control space, wow, like is error, is paste, is fetching, spending, refresh. You can use refresh conditionally or manually. You can use like is success stall, is data is installed or not, and a lot of functionality methods you can use with just use React query. And here, if we go their official documentation, here there has a lot of functionality. You can read their documentation. You can fetch data with expanded way. You can install your data on the memory state. You can use like React query dev tools for getting this live output and your React query dev tools. Search React query dev tools. Okay, I need to just add this. Just copy the name from here. Next, done. Add construct react. No, variables. Okay, just add it. Now we need to just import it and use Axios. Where is our main component? So this is our main file. Import I, and now we will just use it in here. So go byte React. Oh, so this is React query type tool. So by default we have set it will be opened, and we can watch everything that we have in our React query. Being installed and inactive or a lot of state here. You can filter data. You can see everything like that. This is a query. Just refresh. Open it. Refresh. Refresh. Okay, you can see the which is that's fetching, installed, how many data you have restored, inactive state or fresh or anything else. You can just read the documentation and you will able to see. And here have a lot of functionality, and maybe dev tools from. Okay, we'll add this. So we have make a mistake. Then add React query dev tools from here, not. So the functionality is similar, but they are different. Okay, now in our install we have just one state. Refresh, fresh. Like this is our query key, but the data is installed. Okay, our data is installed, and you can, we are just getting our installed data every time, not it is just fetching from our server every, and you can use like here install time, how much time it will just take your data on the install or memory state. You can handle it manually. So this is the functionality and how you can use it. You can expand your performance. You can expand your development performance with React query. Here they are providing a lot of functionality, a lot of things, a lot of methods, properties you can use to expand your development, this performance. So thank you so much. I think so you have learned something new from here. And if we go to the installation, we will start. Like you can mutation data, you can pass data, you can invalid this specific query on a, like after mutation you can invalid your query key. Like in our case, this is our post. After just submit, like you have button, you have a form. After submission form, you need to just refresh data, and your this installed data will be revalidated. So you can use like that, query client dot revalidate here with just a query key. Suppose after logout, after login, after register, after create post, you need to get this updated data. So you can do it just manually. So how make it just easier. So next time I will try to take about mutation and getting data with server. And thank you so much.